Hi, everybody. It's Joel Mendez here. I'm the executive director with the Prepared Montessorian Institute, and I'm delighted to chat with Juli Williams today. Hi, Juli. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Juli is a wonderful mother, somebody with a lot of passion for raising her children using the Montessori approach. She's on Instagram sharing tons and tons of tips, making it easy and accessible to integrate Montessori into your life, into your parenting style. If you want to follow her, I recommend it. She's at It's Juli Williams, ITSJULI Williams. It's Juli Williams. She's also speaking this weekend at the Discovering the Child conference that we're putting on. So thanks so much for doing that. I think your voice as an enthusiastic parent is just such an enriching voice to have coming together this weekend, and I'm happy to do this little pre-event with you as well.
Yeah, so fun. I love talking Montessori, so anytime.
Perfect. Me too. I feel like we could geek out all the time. I wanted to just dive in and ask you. I'm very curious. I'm always curious to hear people's Montessori origin story. I know I'm a fan of yours on Instagram myself, and I know how every day it seems like you're posting things, you're doing new activities with your children. You're all the way in. So tell me, how did you get to that point?
It's been a long journey, actually. I honestly don't remember how I heard about Montessori from the beginning. I just know that I was looking for preschools for my 18-month-old at the time. And I toured a Montessori school, and I was like, what is this? Like, how amazing that these kids are like doing all this stuff. And like, it just intrigued me so much. And my daughter was actually in a Montessori preschool for, I don't know, 2 weeks. Because then my husband and I got a call to relocate to New York City to work. And so we literally like enrolled her, and then all of a sudden we had to move. And obviously like New York City was like, okay, well, we can't, just put her in a preschool, especially so many changes happening. So that's when I decided to just, okay, well, I guess she's going to go stay home with me. I was working from home, so that allowed me the opportunity to do that. And from then, I just started learning about Montessori. At the beginning, it was just like, well, I guess like wood puzzles is like the thing to do. Like I wasn't really sure what it was. And then we actually moved back to Florida after a year of being in New York, and I had my second child. And that's when I was like, let me just look more into this, because this is so interesting to me. And I started looking at books, at anyone online who is sharing anything. And this was about 4 years ago. So finding information about Montessori online wasn't as accessible as it is now. And so anyone who is like giving out advice or like blogs that I would find, I just dove right in. And it's been a journey. Like I still feel like I'm at a point where I don't know everything, and I'm still learning. And even though I have learned so much about it, it's a constant thing where I'm like, oh, that's how you do that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, going back to that, there's so many interesting things in there. What was the first thing you did when you decided you were in New York now and you were going to work with your daughter? What was the first step?
Yeah. So actually, I'm going to talk about that a little bit more on the Discovery of the Child conference, of how that journey really happened for us. But just to give you like a little bit of a preview, it was through minimalizing our life. We had just tons and tons and tons of stuff. And my daughter was just not playing with anything. And I just was at a loss, like what to do with all this stuff that she wasn't even touching, that she wasn't even doing. And so my first step towards a more Montessori aligned lifestyle was to completely minimize a lot of the things that she had. And I was able to do that because of our move to New York.
Yeah, going to New York, I feel like you have to minimize if you're going to New York anyways. And so might as well take the opportunity. And then you moved back to Florida, where I know you are now. So one of the things that I've always found resounding about the Montessori approach is that it helps children adapt to new circumstances. So did you see this in your child? Like how was that move back? And then I know you had your second child after you were back, but there's a lot of, there's a lot of chance for disruption when you're making so many life changes in such a young child's life. Did you find the Montessori approach helped with that?
Yeah, I really did, but I have to say that as a parent, that move was really hard. I had just had a baby 3 months ago, so I was postpartum with 2 kids by myself, just trying to figure out all these things. So honestly, that was the time of my life where I put my Montessori learning on pause because I was like, I feel completely overwhelmed right now of everything that I was going through postpartum and the move, and it was difficult for my children and it was difficult for me, and I'm sure it was difficult for my husband as well. So
Sure.
I just kind of said, we're just not going to put in too much pressure to do all these Montessori things. And it wasn't until my baby turned a year old, so really almost a year after, that I kind of went back and said, okay, I feel better now to continue looking into this and helping children with this. But it really took a pause in that year of our move. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, and I think that's such an important thing to do. I'm a father of 3 children myself. It's hectic. I'm a trained Montessori educator. I'm supposed to be the perfect Montessori dad, right? I'm not all the time. So I'm curious, how do you balance sort of the adult needs in the household when you are so focused on your children's Montessori experience?
Yeah, that's actually such a great question because it's really hard. I think that we want to replicate what sometimes we see in a school, right? Like, and guides are so devoted to the needs of the child, really, that you don't see, or a guide is not going to say like, okay, well now I'm going to, I don't know, go to the doctor or go pay the bills, or like all these
Yeah.
things a parent has to do. Like I have to put in those structures that I have to say, okay, like I am going to devote this time to doing the activities, to putting, to being there, to being present. And then it gets to a point where I have to like, okay, well, from here on, I need you guys to learn how to entertain yourselves, to play a little bit by yourselves, because I also have needs as a parent that I need to get done. And it's taken a while. Like obviously during the toddler years, especially, it's very hard because
Sure.
toddlers just want to be next to you all the time. But now that my kids have
Mhm.
gotten older, it's gotten so much easier to do. So, but it's been a process. Yeah.
And it's such a good point that not only do you need adult time and space to get things done or to relax or have a conversation with your husband or whatever it is, but the children need this too. And if they go to a Montessori school and they're getting a Montessori experience at a school, the school is counting on the children also having a family experience that's different. I think maybe it could be a misconception, but as a Montessori educator, we want the children to have a complete life. And that means sometimes you're a member of a family, and sometimes as a member of family, you put your own needs aside because there's somebody else in your family who needs something else. And this is all a very important part of growing up. And as a sort of homeschool educator, you've got to find time to be mom and time to be teacher, and that's not the same thing and not always at the same time. So I'm glad you've said that, and good on you for finding a balance, because I think that that's incredibly challenging.
I don't think I ever have found a balance. Like I think that's really
attempting to find a balance. Maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Like there's things that I've had to learn how to let go, and it's really hard for me. I mean, the thing that I love about Montessori so much is that I do love pouring into my children. Like this is just a passion of mine, right? But I also understand the parents who are like working every single day and have things that they have to do that they just can't. So I also understand that point, and I think that none of us will ever feel like there's balance every single day. But letting go of that guilt and like just saying like I know that, like I say this all the time, especially when my children are interacting. I know you really want to cook right now. I know you do, but mommy has to get dinner done because everybody else has to eat.
Yeah. And it's knowing that when you do have the time to devote to your children, you are that fully present self that you were describing as well. Yeah. Well, Juli, thanks so much for taking the little bit of time today. And as I mentioned, we'll all get a chance to listen to you a little bit more on Saturday of this week, 12:45 Eastern time in U.S. time zones. She's going to be on there with a few other mothers who are doing the same thing, working, living their life, and finding ways to create Montessori experiences for their children. So thanks for being a part of that. Follow her. As you can tell, she's great. So at It's Juli Williams on Instagram. She's got so many little tidbits that are just gold. So thanks for taking the time, and thanks for doing what you do.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Take care.
Okay.